Hey guys, Scary Stories here. Tonight, I have 3 stories for you. These ones are all about mysterious visitors. I'll save my favorite for last, but I'll let you know that it involves something similar to those paranormal stick figure men. Yes, they're a thing. But before we get into it, in case you're new to the channel, I post videos every Thursday and Sunday and try to sprinkle in shorts throughout the rest of the week. I like to look through the archives of the internet to find old websites, forum posts, and news articles from the late 90s and early 2000s to share here. So, if you enjoy all things creepy, strange, or just slightly unsettling, maybe consider hitting that little red button down below. It really helps me out and I greatly appreciate it. I really love this little community we have going on, and I'd love to see it keep growing. But with that out of the way, let's get into the video. I hope you enjoy. So this first one was posted all the way back in 1999. It's simply titled, Strange Guests. Up until yesterday, I had no doubt that the strange things I was seeing in and around my house was all simply just my imagination running away with me. But now, I'm not so sure. When I first moved here 2 years ago, my daughter and I had some strange experiences with small items being moved or just simply disappearing. Lights and other electrical appliances would turn off and on at will, and strange noises that whirred, clicked, or ticked could be heard at all hours throughout the night. I marveled at the warm and cold spots that changed frequently in my home. Of course, none of these events ever occurred while I had company. The neighbors reported that sometimes my lights would turn off or go on while I wasn't home. Far be it for me to assume that my cats had developed this capability. Speaking of my cats, they're a very interesting factor in this story. They chased and stalked some non-existent things. They would be asleep and then bolt from the room without warning. In the end, we chose to view these strange happenings as more of a joke than anything else. We even went so far as to name the ghost Bob, and we never really had any issues with him. He never appeared to have any malicious intent. In fact, after several months, he seemed to stop his horseplay altogether. But now, in the last several months, we have noticed a new, disturbing phenomenon. We have a large window that faces the deck leading to the main entrance of the house. You have to pass this window in order to come to the door. Well, I'll tell you what, I had best break out the cheese dip and punch bowl if all these guests I have seen actually decide to visit. Day and night, in all weather, large hooded figures, sometimes dressed in black and sometimes dressed in white, pass by my front window. Yesterday held the steadiest stream thus far. There must have been 15 of them. They make no sound, and they offer no scary disturbance to my life. But what's most interesting is that my real guests are beginning to notice this now too. People who have no knowledge on the background of this story visit me and inform me that someone's here. I just saw them walk outside. Oh, and the ticking noise is back too. Sometimes it's quite loud. Any ideas on who or what this could be? I'd appreciate your input. I don't feel fear or danger, just an eerie difference. Your email will be most welcome. I am ittydiddy@yahoo.com. Thank you. I always think it's cute when they leave their email. I'll try to remember to censor that so that they don't get any weird emails about this story 20 years later. They probably figured it out by now. Anyways, this next one's called The Cabin. This is my experience with the paranormal. I'm not the smartest of people, not the best with words, but I have a story to tell, and I hope someone will listen. This is a yarn about me, my family, and a little cabin in the woods. Imagine your dad's driving down a heavily wooded dirt road. It's autumn. Your family comes upon a locked gate. Nothing more than 2 metal bars, a chain, and a padlock. Your mom gets out, unlocks the gate, and it opens with a loud creak. You guys drive about half a mile down the road when you come upon the cabin. The front is bisymmetrical. It's got a porch, 2 windows, a door. The door's practically hanging off the hinges at this point. There's a wood pile, an axe, a chopping block, and there's a deer skull hanging above the door. You can tell that this house has been in existence for a very long time. The inside is scary enough as it is. There's 2 main parts to the interior. The bottom floor is completely open, except for the bathroom, which is to the right. On the right side of the room is a bed. Directly in front of you is a couch facing a fireplace. Behind that couch is the kitchen, if you really want to call it that. It's a stove, a fridge, that's it. And covering every wall are animals. Dead ones. There's rabbits, quail, a bobcat here, a wolf there. There's even some squirrels, even the skin of a rattlesnake. My uncle's a hunter, in case you couldn't tell. He's the kind of hunter who keeps the head and discards the meat. I don't agree with it, but what can you do? Anyways, above you is the ceiling fan and the loft. It's more of an attic than a loft, really. You see, the only way to get up there is by a ladder. The loft contains 2 mattresses and a bunch of Christmas decorations. There's no lights up there, just a small, solitary window, really close to the floor, about a foot up from it, to be precise. So let's get down to the occurrence at hand. It was late August, about 5 p.m. We had just arrived and were beat from the long ride over. We were unpacking the car, and I know this sounds corny, but I had the strangest feeling I was being watched. I flipped around, and nobody was there. I just shrugged it off as nervousness left over from the trip. We went inside, put our stuff down, and built a little fire. The night went on as normal. We ate dinner, played some card games, and even listened to the radio. At about 10 p.m., we all went to bed. My parents slept upstairs in the loft, and I slept in the bed downstairs. But then I thought of the feeling I had earlier and started to feel uncomfortable. So uncomfortable that I ran off the bed and decided to sleep on the couch in front of the fire. I slept like a log until about 12:45 when I heard a slight scratching at the front door. I shrugged it off at first. Wind, maybe. It really started to bother me when it got so loud that my parents woke up and told me to stop joking around and go back to sleep. I was so petrified from fright, I couldn't reply. The scratching intensified, and it got louder and louder and louder. It continued until my dad grabbed the ladder and scrambled down, ready to punish me for so rudely waking him up. And to his surprise, though, I was still on the couch with the sheets up over my head. I was about 6 or 7 at the time, so don't think I didn't have a reason to be scared. My dad got me up, and I followed him to investigate our late-night visitor. The scratching intensified even more with each step. My father clutched the handle of the doorknob, and ever so slowly turned it. The scratching was now louder than ever. He flung open the door, and nothing. The scratching stopped immediately. We both looked at each other, and he shut the door. The next morning, we checked the door where the sound was. No sign of any friction against the door or anything. And every August, we returned to my uncle's cabin, hoping to encounter the strange phenomenon again. Okay, one more for you. This is the one I was talking about, also posted back in 1999. It's not stickmen in this, but, well, you'll see. It's called The Little Man. My mother had bought a split-level country house in South Jersey, and it was to be our dream house, or so we thought. My father had passed away, so it was just me, my mom, and my 5 brothers moving in. The very first night we were there, we all woke up to the sounds of crying. We also heard things being moved around and noises coming from the cellar. We had 2 neighbors across the street and a huge street light in front of our house that lit up most of the yard. So if anybody was standing out there, we would have been able to see them really well. We all loved the house so much that we put up with the noises and the banging that we heard so often. We didn't think it was strange to have company, and we definitely didn't think it was strange that glasses kept moving in front of everybody. Sometimes my relatives would sit in the living room, and the doorknobs would turn back and forth. We felt kind of proud that we had something different than everybody else. After a while, we would see these dark images running outside when my mom and family would sit out there to get some air. It kind of got around the neighborhood that we lived in a haunted house, and some of my friends wouldn't come back to visit. Anyways, that doesn't matter. My mom always loved the country look, and we were surrounded by miles of trees. Well, she kind of hinted that a fence would suit the aesthetic of the house really well. So, my younger brothers and I made one for her. And as long as I live, I'll never forget what she said and what I saw one summer night. It was on a Saturday morning at the breakfast table that my mom said, "Frank," that's me, "can I ask you something? And swear that you won't laugh." "Yeah, sure, Mom." She said, "Last night I couldn't sleep. My chest was hurting, so I got up and was admiring the fence you boys built me, when suddenly I saw this black figure, like a little man, standing in the front yard looking at me. He was just standing there. I guess I made a noise because it walked up to your fence and went under it. I thought this was all weird, so I asked my mom, 'How do you know this was a little man?' She said that she didn't know how, but that it looked like it was cut out of a black piece of paper, like some kind of one-dimensional being." I wanted to laugh, but she stood up and walked away crying. She knew I didn't believe her, and I didn't, honestly, until I saw it for myself. The next night, I saw it running up to the front door. I yelled at whatever this thing was and ran outside to chase after it. I could see that this thing didn't have any eyes, and it really did look like it was cut out of a black piece of paper. It ran straight to the road and went under a street lamp. I could see it perfectly in the light, and it was still pitch black. Then it jumped into the air and ran into the woods. I woke my brother up and told him what I saw, and that's when we heard this hideous laughter in the woods as we stood outside looking for it. And it's been nearly 20 years since I lived in that house, and from what I hear, it's still happening to others in the area. The house has remained empty for a long time, since everybody thinks it's haunted. Ooh, paper beings, right? Whatever they are. Really though, the stick figure thing's really strange. People apparently really see sightings of stick figures out there. Like, I don't even know how you would explain it or what it would look like. Just like a drawing of a stick figure walking around. Maybe I'll try and include some quote-unquote real photos of some stickmen sightings, or maybe videos if I can find one. But anyways, I'll leave it there for now. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're treating yourself with love and respect. I know you deserve it. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you disliked it, give it a dislike. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.